Overnight, Iran and Israel trading more fire, both nations carrying out fresh waves of deadly attacks. In Israel, videos circulating online capturing this massive strike in the coastal town of Bat Yam. At least 6 people killed, including 2 children, and more than 100 wounded, according to Israel's emergency services. Here you can see the aftermath. First responders rushing to the scene, desperately searching for survivors amid the rubble. 3 residents still missing. Iran's barrage of dozens of missiles and drones seen soaring over Jordan towards Israel.
Oh my God.
And flying over Jerusalem. With sirens blaring from the north down to Tel Aviv. Israel's air defense system, including the Iron Dome, intercepting some of the aerial assault, like this Iranian drone. But several missiles evading the system, hitting their targets. Medics saying at least 4 people were killed and 14 injured in a direct hit on the Arab-Israeli town of Tamra. Israel also intensifying its attacks. This massive fire raging at an Iranian oil depot after an Israeli strike, according to the Iranian Ministry of Oil.
At 5 a.m. this morning, the sirens went off. This is the aftermath of what happened. This is a very residential neighborhood just outside of Tel Aviv. The damage here is vast. There are cars that have been flipped over one another. There are homes that are utterly destroyed, and 2 people lost their lives here.
Hello, my friends. Nathan Liao, Watchman's Cry, coming to you on a day of madness. Today is June 14th, 2025, and boy, has the tribulation commenced with a bang, hasn't it, folks? Because that's where we are. If you're looking around, if you're paying attention, if you're watching the news, if you have social media, most likely you have heard about events that are taking place around the world right now. There are so many things happening, which gives proof that we are at the end of time, we are in the last days, we are in the final laps, and Jesus is coming soon. We got to get through this thing. If we were to sum up the things that are happening around the world, we have the ice charade taking place, the iron fetters that have been unleashed on Americans and on immigrants, people who are visiting the United States, on immigrants who are legal. And get this, folks, a few of those people who are being mistreated, they are followers of Jesus. They're Christians. They have faith in God, and they are being mistreated right now by Mystery Babylon, which is the United States of America, whose leader is Antichrist, Little Horn, son of perdition, son of destruction, man of lawlessness, Donald J. Trump, the Antichrist. We're starting to see the players appear. Trump is the man on the white horse who is conquering the world. And now we have the red horse that has been unleashed. The red horse is now pounding the ground. His hooves are kicking up dust throughout the world, and Israel has gone at it with Iran. They are bombing Iran, and Iran has answered their aggression with their own attack. They're destroying each other. Iran has sent a lot of missiles to parts of Israel where the Iron Dome failed. Have you heard about this, folks? The Iron Dome in Israel, that thing that was touted by Donald Trump. Trump bragged about it and said that we were going to get our own version of it, a golden dome that was going to protect America. Well, now we have Israel with their dome, and it's not working. So the missiles are getting through from Iran, and they're hitting Tel Aviv. They're causing a lot of damage. People are getting injured, and some have died. We have that thing going on, and we have the ice charade happening nationwide here in America. We have the red horse that is galloping and bringing war to the world. Israel and Iran, as well as other countries now who are going to join in. And of course, the United States is going to end up joining in because we have been supporting Israel for this attack. So that's going to be on the radar now. And by the way, folks, that's fulfilling prophecy, because it says in the book of Zechariah that God himself was going to make Israel a cumbersome stone. What does that mean? That means God was going to steer Israel into agitating the people of earth so that the people of earth would attack them, attack Israel. And when that happens, that's going to be the very end of time. That's when Jesus will return to save Israel from the attacks. So those prophecies are happening right now. And then we have the National Guard and the Marines being let loose in America. unconstitutional mandates and decrees by Little Horn Trump is sending the iron, the military, which also fulfills another prophecy because it says in the book of Daniel that the Little Horn would worship the God of forces. The God of forces, which means military power, would be one of the things that the Little Horn loves. And Donald Trump loves it. He loves the military, and he's even talked about how much he loves the military. So that's being fulfilled. And then we have Iran threatening the United States. They have stated that they're going to activate some cells that are hidden in the United States that are going to bring havoc. And they have also said that they have the ability to send missiles to the mainland of the United States. They said that they're going to send them to Florida or even any other part of the coast, which is another fulfillment of prophecy because it says in Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51 that at the very end of time, during the day of the Lord, during the day of God's wrath, Babylon, America, is going to get destroyed by the Medes, which are the Persians. The Bible tells us this in the book of Joel, in Isaiah, and also in Jeremiah, as well as other places. So that's shaping up to fulfill prophecy. Now, as a side note, real quick, the official timeline for Watchman's Cry is that, yes, we're in the end times, but it's not going to play out the way the preacher told us and the way that Tim LaHaye and Hal Lindsey told us. The pre-tribulation rapture was not biblical. It didn't happen. And we're already in the tribulation, so obviously it didn't happen. So that was an error. The rapture is not pre-trib. The rapture is actually pre-wrath. And we've talked about that many times here on this program. We have proven it with Bible studies. I have videos on this channel that explain the rapture. I have several of them. So if you are wondering what our position is, or if you are wondering what the Bible actually says about the second coming and the rapture, we have videos on it here. But if you look at the screen and you look at the timeline, this is what the timeline looks like. We have on the left side, the beginning of time. Before Christ, 4,000 years went by, and then Jesus was born. That's what the cross is. And then we have 2,000 years to get to the very end of time when the rapture happens. And that's when God will remove his people, his bride, the church, his saints, and we will be taken to a hiding place, a secret place, a chamber where he will protect us while he then pours out the wrath of God on the world. And this is clarified over and over in Scripture. We can find this in Revelation chapter 14, verse 14, where it tells us that the harvest of Jesus takes place after the last trumpet. And then after chapter 14, we go into chapter 15 that shows the saints that have been raptured. And then it goes into explaining the vials and the bowl judgments. Now, the confusion in the church for most evangelicals is that what I'm showing you right here has not been taught. So the church is confused about it, and they equate the wrath of God with the tribulation period, which is not the tribulation period. The wrath of God happens after he harvests the earth, because Revelation tells us in chapter 14, Jesus sticks his sickle in the earth is then harvested, and then after that another angel comes out and plunges his sickle into the earth, thereby releasing the grapes of wrath, which are then explained in the following chapters 15 and 16, which are the vials, the bowls. Now when the bowl judgments occur, it's going to just be a short season, because during the bowl judgments, which is the wrath of God, it'll be during that time that Isaiah 13 will take place, where God will set fire to the entire earth. The whole earth is going to be set on fire. It's going to be turned into burning pitch, and it will happen through a number of ways. One of them will be because man's going to set fire to the earth with nuclear war. So it will be during that time when all the nations of the world will come together to fight one another in the battle of Armageddon. But it will be also during that time that Jesus is punishing the earth for their evil. And it will also be in that time where almost every man will die. Almost every human will die during the wrath of God. There's going to be a great slaughter during the wrath of God, and you do not want to be here during the wrath of God, which happens after the harvest in Revelation 14. Now, the wrath of God will occur for a short season. Based on some of the research that I'm doing right now, I believe it's going to just last a few weeks. Based on what we see in the scriptures, it will only last maybe a month and a half. And then after that, Jesus will then send his angels to the furthest reaches of heaven, which is the chambers where he has placed the bride, temporarily, where we're hiding, and the angels will then gather us from the chambers and bring us to meet Jesus on earth. So that's the timeline, folks. That's the end times in a nutshell. So when we look at the season that we have to endure 3.5 years of Donald Trump acting crazy and manic and rabid and, well, just fill in the blanks. Insert the word for the craziest condition that a person can have in their mind. That's going to be Donald Trump behaving at the very end of time that we have to tolerate. And we can see this. We can see that Trump is already behaving as a person who is not in their right mind. He's not in his right mind, but that also fulfills prophecy, because the Bible gives us shadows and hints and also reveals dual prophecies about the leader of end-time Babylon who's going to follow in similar footsteps of King Nebuchadnezzar in the Old Testament. And there was a time when King Nebuchadnezzar was driven mad by a judgment of God because he was boastful and full of himself, and then God sent him out into the fields and the meadows to eat grass like a cow and grow his hair long and lose his mind, and was given the heart of a beast. That is happening to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been given the heart of a beast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a follower of Donald Trump, if you are a member of MAGA, you need to know that you're following the Antichrist. You need to know that Trump is fulfilling all the prophecies about the Antichrist and the Little Horn to the letter. It's so perfect. Today, on June 14th, on his 79th birthday, he wanted to have a military parade. So he spent $45 million of the budget to have a parade for tanks to roll down the streets and destroy the streets of D.C. and cause $15 million of damage to the streets so that Trump can worship the God of forces, which is, by the way, another fulfillment of prophecy. He loves the God of forces. He loves the military because it makes him feel strong. So today, on June 14th, he's fulfilling that, the God of forces. But at the same time, there's another passage that is being fulfilled. And that is found in Daniel 11:21. And in his place shall arise a vile person to whom they will not give the honor of royalty. But he shall come in peaceably and seize the kingdom by intrigue, by flatteries, by astonishment. And that's exactly what Trump has done. He has come in to the United States to be the president again, and Donald Trump is that vile person. He is that vile man whose name is on the Epstein list. Donald Trump is that vile man who molested and raped little girls in his younger years. He is the vile man who has been convicted and sued and found guilty of molestation to women. He is vile. He is the one who admitted that he is a pervert and liked to go into the dressing rooms of the pageant contestants for the beauty pageant. He bragged about it. We have him on record bragging that he likes to molest women and touch them where he's not supposed to. You see, folks, Donald Trump fits. He fits it. And we have the receipts. We have the proof. We have the evidence that he is vile. But for some reason, the folks who are a part of MAGA, the people who go to church, the people who say grace and read their Bible at night and claim to follow Jesus, they have taken on an association with the man of sin, with the son of perdition, the man of lawlessness. Why are they doing it? Why is the church accepting the Antichrist? Here's why, folks. Because God is using Donald Trump as a separator, as a sieve, as a filter, as a tool to separate the sheep from the goats. He's being used to do the last remaining separations for the church and the body of Christ. The Antichrist is not here for the world. The Antichrist is not here so that the world can follow and then find themselves in judgment. They're already under judgment. The world will get judged. The world is not going to go when the trumpet sounds. The world will be here when the earth burns. But before the earth burns, Jesus is going to sound the trumpet. So he has to first measure all of us. He has to take his plumb line and measure all of us. He has to measure you, my friend, to see if you will excuse lawlessness, to see if you will grab on to a counterfeit, to a false Christ, to a person who has no fruit, who has rotten fruit, but has your approval or disapproval. Which one is it? So that's why Trump is here, my friends, to test the church, so that when we stand before Jesus and he brings up the record, our life, the exhibits will be there. The proof and the evidence will be there for everyone to see. We will be judged, ladies and gentlemen. Right now is the preliminary judgment. Right now, we have the situation that will allow the judgment. That's why when I come on these programs, I shout from the walls the warning that Donald Trump is the guy. The reason that I am so adamant and passionate about it is because Trump is not just the guy, but he is our test. He is your test to see what you're going to do, to see how you're going to react and behave to his actions. And in the natural, this makes no sense. I understand. I understand that there are some people who can't get over why I am so passionate about this. But it's because this is what time it is, folks. And the people who want to argue about it, the people who want to resist and be contrary to this message are the ones who cannot see. They are the ones who are blind and their eyes are closed and cannot see, which is a terrifying thing. Paul said, because I know the terror of the Lord, I persuade men. So that's why I am sharing this warning to you guys. That's why I am sharing this warning at the expense of my freedom in the future, at the expense of potential incarceration. I have to do it, my friends. So please take heed. Take the words of warning, because it's all happening right now. Now, getting back to what I mentioned a moment ago about Donald Trump's birthday, he worships the God of forces. But at the same time, today, also, June 14th, the United States has experienced the largest protest in its history. And it's not just the United States. The protest against the king, no king, we have no king. It's the anti-king protest to Trump, telling him that he's not a king. The whole United States assembled together to do that, to reject that he is royalty, because he has said it. Trump has posted it on his Truth Social, which is actually lying, deluded social. He posted it on there that he's a king. He has posted it on the White House website. He has let everybody know who he thinks he is. And his followers are acknowledging it. So it is official, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump has claimed to be a king, but the world said, no, you're not. And in the book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 21, that's exactly what it says. It says, a vile person would rise up to whom they will not give the honor of royalty. They, the people, will not give the honor of royalty to the Antichrist. And by the way, folks, right there is another fulfilled scripture, because it's happening right now. It's happening worldwide. Over 20 countries are participating in this No King rally protest. It's happening in Europe and a number of places. There's another prophecy right there. They're happening before your eyes, my friend. So then it's up to you to discern whether you can see that they are true. But I have a caveat. It says in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, the very last chapter of Daniel, it says in verse 10, many shall be purified and made white and refined during this time, which is where we are now. We are being tested, so we will be refined, but we have to go through the testing, the heat, the challenges. But then it goes on. Daniel 12:10. But the wicked shall do wickedly. That means the ones who are not of God are going to continue behaving the way they are. There will be no fear of God. There will be no alarm that they need to get right with God because we're in the end times. In other words, they won't know that we're in the end times. And the next sentence says that. It says, and none of the wicked shall understand. None of the wicked shall understand. Did you get that, folks? Did it say one of them, some of them, half of them, a percentage? No. It said, and none of the wicked who are living in the end of time, who are alive during this season, shall understand. But only the wise will understand. The wise, ladies and gentlemen. And that's been one of the key focuses in this ministry. I have stated this over and over that we need to be wise. How do we get wise? We need to get a hold of the word inside of us and be able to dissect it and understand the prophecies the way that God meant them to be understood. Sadly, most of today's evangelical church does not understand the prophecies. They don't get it. Why don't they get it? Well, it says right here, because only the wise understand. So if people don't see prophecies, in other words, some people are still waiting for the pre-tribulation rapture, that shows they're not wise. And my friend, if you are still waiting for the pre-trib rapture and you're still waiting for the Antichrist to show up, but we can see all these other prophecies being fulfilled before our eyes, and if you cannot see it, let me ask you, why can't you see it? Because they're as plain as day. They are so easy to see. And I have this warning. The people who cannot interpret and discern that we are in those days, they don't have end time wisdom. So, my friends, with all thy getting, get wisdom. Get wisdom. How do you get it? You ask of God. The book of James says what we have to do. If anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. And when they ask, let him ask with faith, not with unbelief. Because if you have no faith, or if you doubt, you're going to be like the waves, tossed and driven by the winds. Not good. So the end time homework for the church of God, for the remnant of God, for all of us is to seek wisdom, to pray and cry out to God, and to lift your hands and say, God, open my eyes, remove the scales, help me to understand the times that we are living in. Also, here's the other thing, folks. It says none of the wicked will understand. So if a person is in sin, if a person is not where they're supposed to be, if they're out of fellowship with God, if they are harboring things, secrets and things that they know they shouldn't have, that's wickedness. And if a person has that kind of wickedness in them, that's one of the things that will sabotage the wisdom of God. It will sabotage the optics to be able to see clearly. So, my friends, we need to be able to understand. We need to be able to march through this time and navigate with the lamp of God and the tools of God, which do exist. They're there. So I want to recommend that. Get the word in your heart. By the way, in the book of James, I brought it up a moment ago about wisdom. James is actually a good end time book because it talks about trials and the trials of fire and the second coming, and it talks about our behavior and our tongue and the fruit that Jesus is going to look for. My friends, Jesus is coming for a bride that has good fruit. He is not coming for a bride that is full of anger and hates immigrants. Jesus is not coming for a bride that has malice, people who are bigoted, people who hate others, people who look at others who have less than them and consider them worthless. Jesus is not going to show favor to that. They will be tossed to the side and bundled up with the other goats. And by the way, I mentioned that a moment ago, which is why Donald Trump is being used to separate the sheep from the goats, because Donald is a magnet for goats. He admitted that he was a goat, the greatest of all time, and so his MAGA followers want to be goats as well, and they're getting t-shirts and baseball caps and all this kind of merch to let everybody know that they're also a goat like him. Unfortunately, in order to be a follower of MAGA and associated with MAGA, it requires that a person literally behaves like a goat. You know, folks, the goat that denies Jesus, the ones who denied the least of them, those are the goats. And Donald Trump is training his followers to behave in a similar manner. Folks, this entire narrative is so easy to see. We're there, ladies and gentlemen. The beast of Revelation 13 is rising. The Bible tells us what it consists of, and we can see it in real time. The beast consists of the mouth of a lion. That's Trump. Trump is the mouth. He admits he's a lion. On Truth Social, he puts pictures of himself being the lion. So he's that part of the beast. He's the spokesman for the end time beast. And then we have the feet of the bear, which is Putin. And how coincidental is it that Putin and Trump are buddies? They're friends. They're working together. So we have that. And then we also have the body of a leopard, which I have stated in the past, and I still maintain that. I foresee that as being fulfilled when a fascist movement rises up in Europe, and that thing is coming. The seeds of fascism have already been planted in many countries in Europe, and they are being funded by Elon Musk and the United States of America. Trump has sent Homeland Security Barbie Christie Noem to Germany to campaign for the AfD, the far-right party in Germany. Elon Musk has posted on Twitter that the AfD, the far-right group, in other words, the fascists of Germany, are the only political party that can save Germany. So fascism is going to take over Europe as well. And then the beast will be complete. And that's what we're watching right now, folks. Putin and Trump have already spoken privately, and they're going to carve up the earth and divide it amongst each other. That's what we have forming right now. And in the last program, I shared that the plan that Putin is following is based on a book written by Alexander Dugin, who wrote in 1997 that in order for Russia to return to its greatness, it has to take over all the land, the real estate from Dublin, Ireland, which is the far west, the island of the UK. In other words, Russia's going to take over all of Europe. All the NATO countries will become the property of Russia, all the way to Dublin, Ireland, and Britain. So apparently Russia believes that they're going to own the UK. They're going to take over Wales and Scotland and Britain and France, Portugal, all of those countries. But it says in his book that Russia will occupy from Dublin all the way to the eastern side of Russia where the Pacific Ocean is. And he named a city in his book called Vladivostok. And Vladivostok is 4,500 miles away from the border of Ukraine. And just a few days ago, Ukraine did a secret covert operation where they smuggled in semi-trucks with trailers that had drones inside of them. And those trucks were then advertised to be driven to deliver the cargo to different parts of Russia. So Russian truck drivers answered the ads and they drove these trucks to different parts of Russia. And one of those trucks was sent to Vladivostok, that city that's in Dugin's book, in the very eastern side of Russia. And Ukraine bombed a base that was in Vladivostok. Now, this was not a coincidence. The reason Ukraine went through so much effort to send it to Vladivostok was because Ukraine was letting Putin know that, hey, we know about your book. We know your plan. We know that you want to take over everything. You want all the real estate. So to show you that, no, you're not going to own the property from Dublin to Vladivostok. You're not going to be successful in that. And to show you, we're going to send our own covert operation to Vladivostok at the other side of Russia, 4,500 miles away, and we're going to show you what we can do. So that's what Ukraine did, and they bombed the base over there and destroyed planes. Now, the news has not said anything about the motivation of Ukraine to send it that far. But the reason that Ukraine did it, and of course, Zelensky did not send me a text message to tell me this, but it's pretty obvious, ladies and gentlemen. It's obvious that Putin is following the script in the book, and it's also obvious that Ukraine has read it. Zelensky knows the plan, so they sent their covert operation to Vladivostok to let them know that, no, you're not going to do it. So Ukraine is showing their defiance and showing their resistance, that they're not going to just give in and fold. So that's a side note, ladies and gentlemen. We are watching the hooves of the red horse pounding the ground, going to and fro to get the whole earth to fight. A lot more is coming. So, folks, stay wise, stay vigilant, hold on to your discernment, get familiar with the scriptures, study the scriptures, get the books of the Bible in your heart, and also study the end times. Now, I just mentioned that the wicked will not understand. Those are the words from the angel that came from God. The wicked will not understand in the end times. So here's another warning, folks. That means that if a person does not have end time wisdom from the Holy Spirit that is only gained through deep searching of the scriptures, if they don't possess that, then they will not understand what's happening. So if you go on YouTube and you go to websites or you listen to a podcast or a person who claims to be a Christian, who claims to understand the end times, if they do not have wisdom, they're not going to understand, and as a result, they're going to be giving out information that is not true. They're going to be giving out false information, and that is why I warn that it takes wisdom to get it. Also, another warning, if you don't know about the personal fruit, if you go on YouTube, there's a good chance that they're wicked in their heart. There's a good chance of that. And if they are wicked in their heart, in other words, they're not where they're supposed to be, then that means whatever they say is going to be lies. It's going to be deception. So that's why I continually warn about the people on Fox News or the other watchmen who are out there, or the right-wing people who are trying to tell you about this doom or this red pill thing or that or this event. All these conspiracy theories that are filling the whole internet with all this confusion. The people of God who are listening to a lot of that confusion, and I'm talking to you guys. If you're listening to a lot of that confusion, most likely there's a high probability that you're listening to information where the person speaking does not understand what they're talking about. So on these programs, we provide the studies. We provide the evidence. We bring the receipts. We prove with the Bible what the prophecies actually say. So on this channel, we have talked about Daniel 9:27 not being the Abraham Accords, because they're not. Daniel 9:27 is about Messiah, ladies and gentlemen. It's about Jesus spreading out his hands like wings. And when he did that, they nailed his hands to the cross, they nailed his wings to the cross, and it caused the sacrifice of Israel to become an abomination. And that's exactly what the passage says, for the overspreading on the wings of abomination. It's Jesus that turned the sacrifice into an abomination. So it's not about a peace treaty with Israel. And folks, so many people, some of you guys are still sending me messages and emails and on Facebook, and I'll see you post things about the Abraham Accords. That is not Daniel 9:27. And by the way, the Abrahamic Accords, if they are peaceful and if anyone wants to claim that they are a peace treaty, what's going on today in the Middle East? We don't have peace. We have no peace. And other countries are going to get drawn into this war that has already started. World War III has started. So that kind of shows that the peace treaty is not real, doesn't it? And it kind of shows that the Abrahamic Accords has been misinterpreted, right, folks? Okay, so I have explained it on several occasions on this channel. So go on the channel and look for the video and you can see it. Also, I have one on the Ezekiel war. Ezekiel 38 and 39 is not a war that's going to start the tribulation. That prophecy is about after the 1,000 years. Satan's going to be let loose from his prison and he's going to go out to the earth and gather up nations, Magog and Gog, to come against Israel. That's when that happens. So Ezekiel 38 and 39 is about the future, ladies and gentlemen. And in fact, there's even proof of it because in Ezekiel 37 is about the rapture. The prophecies about the dry bones are about the rapture. It says that sinew comes back, muscle comes back on the bones and skin. It regrows. It comes back to life. That's what happens in the rapture when God restores us and resurrects us. Ezekiel 37 is about the rapture, my friend. So those teachings are here on this channel. Also, the rapture itself, that's in the channel. There's several there. I have another video on when Israel gets saved, when they finally will, on the prophecies about Zechariah and what's going to happen at the very end of time. So we are touching all of those things, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to invite you to take the time and listen to them in their entirety. Get your Bible out, take notes, write the notes in your Bible, because I do not know how long I'm going to have this channel. I don't know when they're going to pull the plug on me, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know when ICE is going to show up banging on the door and take me away. I don't know. So until then, take advantage of the teachings that I have. Another thing that I have to share real quick is that there's going to be a temptation with these uprisings and these protests to act in the flesh, to go out and protest in the flesh. But there is a secret that Jesus told us, and it's repeated in Revelation. The revelation of Jesus to John, Jesus says it, and we see it also in the words of Jesus. He says, "By your patience do you possess your soul." In Revelation, it says this is the patience of the saints. In other words, when the Antichrist is wreaking havoc on the world and wants to make you angry and mad and wants to get a rise out of you and wants to get a response out of you, by your patience will you hold on to your victory, my friend. By your patience will you hold on to your sanity and your soul and your direction and your lamp. The patience of the saints is our key to victory, ladies and gentlemen. So don't react. Don't respond. Let the patience of God be in you. And that's another thing that James talks about. Patience. Having patience. That's a fruit of the Spirit, my friends. So today, as we walk through the tribulation, as we walk through these days, as we walk through this turmoil, we must do it with the right map. You must do it with the proper navigation compass, with the correct rudder, with the correct information, with the wisdom of God and the knowledge of God. We have to be wise, my friends, because without the wisdom of God, we won't make it. You won't make it. You will stumble and fall. So in the days ahead, it's going to get crazy. This ride is going to get crazy. Madness is going to take over. It's going to be scary in some areas. There's going to be bloodshed. There's going to be horror and terror and things that we never thought we would see. But when those things happen, when there's an attack, if perchance one of the cells of Iran or from people of the Middle East decide to be activated here in the States, stateside, and they do something that hurts a lot of people, we need to hold on to our temperance, our patience, our understanding, and not react, ladies and gentlemen. Because there's going to be a lot of noise. There's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of confusion. There's going to be a lot of people weeping and howling and experiencing anguish of their soul. But my friend, you're not in the dark. You are not of the darkness. You are of the light. So hold on to the lamp of God, my friend. All right? Now, I didn't want to make this program too long, but I just wanted to give a summary because you can see what's going on. The whole world sees it. The whole world sees it, and a lot of the world is wondering, what in the world is all of this? Well, it's the end times. This is the tribulation. We're here. It's sad that the preachers aren't talking about it. It's sad that the church doesn't get it. They're not going to warn their flocks that the Antichrist is here. They're not going to warn their flocks that they need to behave with patience and with wisdom and discernment. And that's too bad, because that means that a lot of people who go to church are going to navigate through the tribulation without a compass and without a map and without knowledge and wisdom. That's sad, ladies and gentlemen. So what do? You must gain the information and the knowledge and study. Keep your eyes in the Word, and also warn your friends and your family. Warn the pastor. If you have a pastor, tell him. Tell him what time it is. Tell him that we're there. Point them to this channel. Share these videos with spiritual leaders and pastors. Share these videos with your loved ones and your friends. And if they get mad, then let them get mad. Let them. There will be some of those that you warn that will be awakened and that will repent and turn to righteousness. So if you're doing that, my friend, then it's worth it. All right, folks? Now, this mission that I am on with Allison, we need your help to do it, folks. We need you to hold our hand. We need you to continue helping us get through this, because we're bringing you information that not many people are sharing this information, my friend. So hold our hand. There's a link in the description, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, to help us. Buy us a cup of water. Buy us a gallon of milk. Buy us a meal. Send us enough just to keep going. All right? And also in the description, there's a link to Allison's channel on TikTok. Go check her out and follow her and give a like to her videos to help the algorithm push her to the top, and support us that way as well. I'm going to place one of her videos after this. So, folks, hang in there. This is going to be a rough ride, but you can do it. Jesus gave us the tools to equip us. We can do this. You can endure to the end. Don't give up. All right, my friends? So with that, stay vigilant, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
We're living in exciting times, guys. Prophecy is being fulfilled left and right. I mean, I can just say the word Israel and you know what I'm talking about. But what I am talking about right now is another prophecy that has been fulfilled today with the American people standing up to Donald Trump. And that is Daniel 11:21. Let's take a look at it together. And it says, "And in his place shall arise a vile person, to whom they will not give the honor of royalty. But he shall come in peaceably and seize the kingdom by intrigue." All you have to do now is turn on your TikTok, of course, and put in protests, and you will see millions of people protesting. And what is the protest called? No King's Day. What does that tell us? They do not want a king in America. He is not getting the honor of royalty. He wants to be a king, but they won't have it. This is another prophecy being fulfilled. So buckle up. We're here, guys. Get ready for the true king who is coming and is on his way.